May the best hitman win. Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this movie review is going to be for a very underrated action film that I had recently watched this weekend. It was a film that one of my favorite YouTubers, Empire Fan Productions, had actually recommended during one of the Saturday night chats that I usually attend on Lukimus Prime's channel. And he mentioned how he wishes a certain actor would do more roles like this in this movie. And after hearing him talk about this movie, in that interview, it got me curious and I kind of wanted to check it out. I had never seen this one before, this was my first time watching it. But that movie is none other than 2007's underrated film, Smokin Aces. Yes, a lot of people don't talk about this movie. I don't think, it was in theaters, but it was just decent, minorly successful at the box office, and it wasn't well received by critics, and then it kind of just disappeared after it went to DVD. It kind of just disappeared from existence. It was just kind of an it's their movie with people. That's what it is. It was just in theaters, and then no one remembered it. However, before I get into details, let's get on with the plot. Well, mob boss Reynolds has taken on a hefty contract on Buddy Aces Israel, a sleazy magician who has agreed to turn state's evidence against the Vegas mob. The FBI, sensing a chance to use this small-time con to bring down the big target Barraza, places Aces into protective custody under the supervision of two agents dispatched to Aces' Lake Tahoe hideout. When the word of the price on Ace's head spreads into the community of ex-cons and cons-to-be, it entices bounty hunters, thugs for hire, deadly vixens, and double-crossing mobsters to join in the hunt. With all eyes on Tahoe, this rogues gallery collides in a comic race to hit the jackpot and rub on out Aces. Yeah. So during the making of the movie, Joe Carahan's on-set photographer captured thousands of stills, and these stills were given to the London-based studio Voodoo Dog, who found sequential photographs that could be animated into title sequences. The images were then manipulated using After Effects, giving control of camera movement and depth of field. The sequence takes inspirations from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids and other 1970s movies. To give the Rostrum-type handmade feel, and textures were filmed using this Canon 5D stills camera, and originally two sequences were produced, an opening sequence and end sequence. However, only the end sequence was used. And another thing with this movie, there's a lot of famous people in here, I'm going to get to these actors' names in a bit, but Smokin Aces was the official acting debut of Alicia Keys and Common. The film was set in Lake Tahoe and was mainly filmed at Montbleu Resort Casino and Spa called the Nomad Casino. And so, after the movie was it would be released around January 28, 2007, or January 26, 2007, the final Friday of January 2007. It received, like I said, mixed reviews from critics, and grossed only about $57 million worldwide at the box office. And after it disappeared from theaters, it just wasn't remembered after that. Just kind of disappeared. Now on to my reaction. So I had never seen this movie before, but a few weeks ago during the annual Saturday night chats that Lukimus Prime hosts, like I've already mentioned, Empire Fan Productions, who's known as Jay, mentioned he had seen the film, does remember it, and loved Ryan Reynolds' performance in this film. In fact, he even said he wished that Ryan Reynolds would try to do more roles like this instead of just playing Deadpool all the time like he does in most of his films now. And kind of go back to the films he used to do, the more serious roles he used to do. technically this is not the only serious role he did. He also did the other serious roles he's done was he did that 2010 film Buried. He was really good in that movie, and I definitely recommend you check that out if you want to see more serious roles from him. And he also, I know he also did have a serious role in the Amityville Horror remake as well. And I don't care if people hate that remake. I actually think it's pretty good. Yeah, I actually thought Ryan did a good job in acting really scary in that film. So I personally like that remake. But after watching the interview, I decided to give this film a watch, and I got it on Blu-ray this weekend so I could watch it. And I gotta say, Empire Frame Productions was absolutely right. I think this movie is very underrated for its time, and I wish it really got more attention. The action sequences and performances are great, especially Ryan Reynolds' performance in this film the most. Like, just Smokin Aces is an entertaining, though incredibly violent action film that tries to replicate the success that were the works of Quentin Tarantino. It comes marginally close, but if one looks closely, there's kind of a difference. The dialogue is usually spot on in a Tarantino film, but it's more choppy here. That being said, there's no lack of insane action and crazy deaths, and I suppose the movie did its job with all the bullets flying everywhere. Now, sure, Joe Carnahan's film lacks a consistent plot, thus making the film a little hard to follow at times, but because of the plot involves the feds and these contract killers who were hard to take down a mob target who was a magician in order to get to the target first, everyone starts a war with one another in a hallway in the hotel. It's all about style and visual effect in this hilariously trashy over-the-top story with a lot of attention paid to exposition and setting up characters in the early parts, and Ryan director Joe Carnahan is clearly having a ball with this darkly comic ballet of bloodshed, and with the help of a solid cast. Like, there's a lot of famous actors in here. Some of them would even go on to play in superhero films. Like, there's Ben Affleck in this movie, who would go on to play Batman in the DCEU. There's Jason Bateman in this movie, yeah. The guy from Arrested Development, Zootopia, Paul, is actually in a series, supposed to be somewhat serious action film. Or this movie's kind of more of a dark comedy kind of a way, but it's kind of meant to be serious. It's kind of somewhat meant to be serious, but it also has some dark comedy elements in it. There's Common, and Alicia Keys, which was both the actresses' first movie. I can't speak clearly, guys. There's Andy Garcia in this movie, Ray Liotta in this movie, Jeremy Piven in this movie, and of course Ryan Reynolds in this movie, who's now known as Deadpool. Yeah, there's like a lot of famous people in here. It's like, but yeah, in the end, Joe Carnahan created some truly interesting characters, and some of them supposedly expert assassins. Like, the Tremors brothers are the most outrageous of the entire bunch. Like, interestingly enough, the action fades in the stretch, like, with a quieted down wrap-up devoted of lanes and twists on the viewer, and there are real doozies. Like, the whole thing pretty much amounts to nonsense, but when the nonsense is this lively and this nasty, it still manages to be entertaining. Like, not only, there's various other familiar faces in this movie too, not just the actors I mentioned. Like there's David Provel, Alex Rocco, Peter Berg, even Chris Pine makes a cameo in this film. Curtis Armstrong, etc. Like, in cameo roles, you'll even see Wayne Newton as himself, and Matthew Fox, kind of unrecognizable as an incompetent security chief. So yeah, there's, like, this movie has, like, purely famous actors and singers that would go on to play in more films after this. Well, Alicia Keys didn't really make much films after this, really. She kind of just stuck to music business, but rapper Common would go on to do some more films, though. After this, Common would go on to play in more movies. Nice. What's interesting is to observe how professional hitmen go about their business in wheeling and dealing their way, inching as close as they can to the mark. With a deal as hot as this, two or more groups going in at the same time in a speed race will naturally set their gun sights on one another, intentionally or otherwise. And it's a blast to see how they wriggle in and out of such situations. In classic Blackie Black scenarios, having battles on many fronts make this a never-ending roller coaster ride. And right from the start, like, Carnahan has us inside the action. All exposition needed to understand the circumstances is given to us as each player receives it. It's a nice stylistic move. The director cuts between everyone in the world getting ready to travel to Lake Tahoe for Israel so they could kill him, making all the conversation match up as though they are all talking to each other. This maneuver enlightens the audience, not only on the plot, but also on the background of each character. So in turn, we learn we all need while the action continues to play out, and never getting bored or slowed down by characters of power dictating stories and plot points. Like, The action continues to build and build, and as a result, until finally reaching a climatic rendezvous with everyone at the casino's penthouse room, housing Buddy Aces. And like I said before, the cast is large, and it's hard to pick up other standouts, but Alicia Keys surprisingly was also pretty good in her first big screen role. Taraji B. Henson is also smooth and kept the hustle and flow broken woman image throughout the film, which she better break away from quick eventually, but like around the time she had a bit too much talent for that to happen, around the time this movie came out, and the Leota Berg, Garcia, and Common were all decent, but they're nothing really too exciting worth mentioning, really. Their roles were just okay. And when it comes to the bad qualities, those would be that Joe Carnahan's film kind of lacks a conscious plot, like I said before. And the idea of every scum and their mama kind of wanting to take down Buddy Israel for such a high fee is a good one, but there were just too many players in this bunch. But it is all part of the deceivingness. The viewers, like any good magician, should. So, yeah, and then if Pulp Fiction ever taught us anything, it taught us that editing, film, and music can be profound on the viewer's enjoyment. Jar you a little, question sequence, question time, regardless. Some folks cannot get beyond a normal start, middle, finish flow. When you mix it up, and it works, all of a sudden your intelligent story becomes entertaining. Like, here's a perfect example of when creative editing could have made this film quite a compelling piece of entertainment. And in order to appreciate a flick like this, it's imperative you go in with an open mind. There are moments where you will be valued and others that you'll find unnecessary. You'll most likely be right on both counts. Anyone can find out what didn't work right off the back. As a closer glance, there are diminutive displays of prosody flashed about. The basic formula has been done before, but this was surely no copycat and did contain so many strains of originality. And due to how easily it is to write this film off, it was no doubt overlooked, as no one remembered it after it disappeared from theaters. But all in all, if you're luckily able to find this movie, I definitely would give it a watch if you are able to find it anywhere. Sure, Smokin Aces is no means a classic. However, whether you love or hate it, you'll be blown away wondering, what the heck just happened? So yeah, in the end, I'm going to hate to say this, it's going to be weird saying this, but I actually recommend you give Smokin Aces a watch. Don't listen to any of the critics. This is actually a very underrated movie that deserves a better score on RT and Metacritic. Like, so much overrated shit gets better scores. This movie only gets a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. A 31. Yet, there's like overrated films, like so many overrated films, like Encanto gets a 94. Stuff. Like, even somehow, like, so much overrated stuff gets over like 90%. They have all decent films that aren't even that bad get like 31%. Whatever, I don't take Rotten Tomatoes seriously, but anyway, yeah. I recommend you give Smokin Aces a watch because it's a pretty decently entertaining movie, and here would have to be my final recommendation for this movie. So overall, if you are bored and want to visit an older action film from the 2000s that has some comedy elements thrown into it and requires you to turn off your brain in order to enjoy it, then easily give this movie a watch because it is worth your time if you are a fan of this type of genre and love all the actors in this film. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Smokin Aces, I'm going to give Smokin Aces an 8 out of 10. Well, that pretty much wraps up my review for Smokin Aces. So you're wondering, what am I going to review next? Well, next film I'm going to review is actually one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's a film that stars Edward Norton. Yep. This is the next movie I'm going to review. Because for a little bit, I'm going to try to review some more original stuff I haven't reviewed. I've been reviewing franchises a little too much, and I don't want to end up becoming a bit of a stale channel if I just keep reviewing franchises all the time. I kind of want to review some standalone things for a change. And just become the movie channel that only reviews sequels and franchises. I don't really want to be known for just that. But yeah, until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe to Movie Lover 120.